Hi, it's Tiffany Lorraine Galloway, certified high performance coach with another episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. We are in December now and we are looking at the end of the year. So we're looking at mastering our own unique resilience. So throughout the year, we started with awareness. We've done all these different themes. If you've been following us, we have a theme for every month. And the idea at the end is that you've been given tools and strategies to master your own unique resilience. And today I have a fun coach who is with me. This is Diana, and she is a parenting coach for that transition when you are letting them leave the nest to go to college. So I'm excited to talk about that. We haven't talked about that before on here. I'm so grateful for our guests and the variety that we get here. So Diana, thank you for being here. Tell us more about you.
Thank you, Tiffany, so much for having me on here. Yes, so I am Diana Davidson. I am a certified parent coach and a two-time girl mom, and I am supporting parents who are sending their kids off to college with the emotional ups and downs of that transitional time, because these are some big changes that are happening. And with those big changes come some big feelings and big emotions. And I'm here to support you so that you can better support your children and also rediscover what lights you up.
I think that's so important because you hear about this empty nest syndrome kind of thing. Yes. All the kids leave the house and a big part of your life has changed and shifted, and you've been a parent and you also have to transition into your child as an adult now. And some of us do better at preparing for that than others. So this will force it. If you weren't preparing for it, they're adults now. They're going to college. So what is the biggest feeling that catches people off guard, or they find they have to work through in this period?
I think the biggest feeling is this idea that my child doesn't need me anymore. And I'm here to tell you that connection doesn't end at drop off, and your child absolutely still needs you, but the way that they need you might just look a little bit different. So it's no longer about like washing the basketball uniforms and these sort of transactional things, which they'll still need you for those, believe me, but it's a different kind of relationship. And you touched on it. It is really this emergent adult type relationship that you are now shifting into. And no high school class or college tour really touches on it or really prepares for what's to come.
What are some ways a parent could prepare for this transition?
So one of the best ways is to really know what helps you stay grounded, so that when some emotions are coming up, that you know that you can stay calm and grounded so that you are prepared to discuss whatever it is that's on the table with your child. And just like you modeled for them when they were in toddlers and preschoolers and kindergartners and all throughout, you are still modeling for your child how to stay calm, how to use those grounding tools that you have in order to face whatever is in front of you. And by being able to do that, then you can move forward and move through whatever emotion is there at the time.
I like the way you put that, move through, just get over with, can't run from it.
So I call emotions love in motion. It is emotions they're not static. They don't stick with you. They move through you.
Wow, interesting. I really like that definition. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah.
It makes them seem like they're alive in a sense, and that they're moving. Because I think sometimes we think we're stuck with emotions, and trauma might do that, I would think. But this should not be a traumatic experience. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, and it does get a little bit muddied when you're feeling so excited and so joyful for your child, but you're also kind of grieving this loss. So there are two contradicting emotions in one, but both things can be true. You can feel excited and proud, and you can also feel sad and feel this loss. So both things can be true.
When a child is a teenager, they're meant to rebel. They're meant to test the waters. They're meant to create their own identity to prepare for this time. But how does a parent honor that agency and also realize they don't have to be like you? They don't have to deal with it the same way you did, and own their own triggers that might come up and deal with them so they don't project them on their child?
Yeah. So as parents, our number one job is to keep our children safe. And that continues to be true even in their teenage years. So when they are going through these sort of challenging, rebellious, whatever phrase you want to use to describe that, you really want to think about, is my child safe? Like, could this be catastrophic? Or is this just like, okay, maybe a lesson is going to be learned from this. So they didn't turn in their homework, when they didn't study for that exam, or they chose to ditch class on a test day and now they're going to get a 0. Okay, so that in that moment in time in high school, that is a much better time to learn that lesson and feel that consequence than, let's say, later in life when they're at a job and they don't show up for work and then they get fired. Now that is a much deeper consequence. So it's really about kind of picking and choosing where to step in and finding that constant dance of, I'm going to support and I'm going to step back, and I'm going to support and I'm going to step back. And the other thing is that we want to make sure that our children do have agency and that they know that we trust them. Maybe they're not going to get it right every time, but they might get it right some of the time, and it may surprise us when they do, because they truly know what is going on in their world and in their orbit. And it is such a noisy space, especially high school, that junior, senior year, those college applications. There is a lot going on. So giving our children some grace and showing them, I trust you. And even if things don't go well, I still love you. So it does not define them as a human, and it does not define our relationship with them. We are still here to love and support our children, even when things might go sideways.
What do you think are the essential skill sets that a college student needs to have for a parent to feel confident they are going to do well in that transition? Because sometimes first year can be quite a shock for some, and that's often where some freshmen really struggle or fall into depression or different things like that. And colleges are aware of this and try to keep them in spaces where they're around other people and they don't isolate and that kind of thing. But what can a parent do to really kind of prepare them for, yes, you have this freedom, but life is also going to be different, and it might feel uncomfortable, or it might feel lonely, and some new feelings that maybe they haven't had to deal with before might come up. Like, I'm the oldest of 6 kids. So going from like 6 kids to 1 roommate, like, I mean, like, that wasn't even necessarily around all the time.
Yeah.
Like, just like, there were some drastic changes, and some other drastic changes were where I chose to go because of a scholarship. Like, I didn't have the same church community that I was used to. I didn't have a car to get to things. I was stuck on campus. They made freshmen live on campus the first year, which I have mixed feelings about. And then I was states away, so I couldn't go home. I couldn't get home. And it seemed like I was set up for success. I was like that A- kind of student. I had lots of talents. I had a lot of ambition, and I really struggled. I had a holy culture shock. I had a peer group. I had never really dealt with peers at that level before. I was a little bit popular, which was not the case at home, and invited to things, and that had never happened before. So it was really like the consequences were definitely bigger. And I wish that I'd been better prepared, as you were talking about, to make some mistakes at home and build that resilience then. Because as an adult at college, and when you get in the workforce, and when you get into relationships that are beyond the like cute teenage dating, kind of gain a feeling of what you're into or what you like and different things, like there's just so much more at stake, like you said. So I'm curious, like cooking, laundry, I think we know some of those things that they should know how to do. But what are some other things perhaps that parents haven't considered that would help them feel confident that their child's going to do well that first year transition?
Yeah, for sure. It is a really, really big change. And you would be shocked by how many kids don't know how to run the laundry on their own, or, think about meals for themselves if the cafeteria is closed after hours and what to do about that. So it might seem kind of basic, but don't underestimate those basics of those just life skills. If you need food, do you know where to go to get it beyond just the cafeteria? If you're going to do laundry, how do you do that? Where do you go? Do you know the laundry hours? And really empowering your children to advocate for themselves when they need help. So thinking about, okay, if I need tutoring in something, or if I need to talk to someone about an issue that is going on in my dorm room, do I know how to contact the RA? And go beyond that. What does that look like? What is that next step? Because what I see with a lot of college kids is that when they hear contact the RA, they say, great, how do I do that? So actually walk through that next step with them and make sure that, oh, it's through this email address, or actually the preferred method is through texting. So just to make sure that they really have that information at their fingertips, and to also remind them that if they need support, that getting support is not a sign of weakness. It is not, it's not a mark on their character. They're just getting help for the things that they need to get done. So really talking about that, what that might look like, anticipating situations before they come up, whether it's laundry, whether it's talking to RA, whether it's knowing who your academic advisor is. So kind of going through those steps and having a conversation about it can be really, really helpful. And every kid is going to take in information differently. So even just creating like a fun little cheat sheet with them. You can even design it on Canva and like, here's how to get in contact with the RA. This is the laundry setting that I need for my sheets. Just kind of make it fun and keep it lighthearted. And also remind yourself that they are going through, this is a huge change. They have a lot of this sort of anticipation of what it's going to be like built up. And it rarely looks like what the brochures look like, pines and rainbows. So there are going to be some of these harder days, and that's okay. You can also remind them that you're always here for them if they need support, and to rely on their friends who maybe are not going to the same school as them. Keep in touch with your friends and reach out when you need help.
Yeah, I can't help but wonder about finances, because really, whether you're helping with some tuition or not, they really need to know that before they head off to college, because I don't think, maybe some parents are aware of this, but not all are aware of this. I'm aware of this because I have a brother who has a very similar name to my dad, and their birthdays are a day apart from each other. And because of the similarities, he was getting credit card applications when he was 12, mistaking that he was my dad. And so they're going to get offered a lot of things. I remember my first year of college, we went to a mall and they said, hey, do you want a membership? I'm like, sure, not knowing that it cost something, because I'd never been approached about that before. So it was kind of a harsh little lesson there, kind of thing. And just in general, how to, one, manage it, but two, not to be taken advantage of either. And if they need help, to also reach out as well, without that shame, without that guilt of, it's your first year, you're going to make some mistakes, you're going to need to learn a few things, as well as a parent tries to prepare them. It's just what is going to happen. So
yeah, for sure. Finances comes up a lot, and it varies from one family to another. So I would say have that conversation, and maybe the conversation is around budgeting and what that might look like for a week, maybe what that looks like for a month, and see what the breakdown is between those two, and lay that out for your child so that you can think about, oh, it looks like a lot of money is being spent on food or entertainment or boba or whatever it is, or those extra coffees. And when you see that laid out within a week, if you're buying a coffee out at the shop for $8 a coffee, and that's over the whole week, that tends to add up. And, what can you do? Can you have a coffee maker in your room to kind of minimize that? Are there clubs that you can go to get that free cup of coffee? Those kinds of conversations are really important. But yeah, just really having a healthy conversation around finances, and not making money this weird taboo thing. It's just something that we need to know how to manage, not just for college. This isn't just about this one slice of life moment. This is a conversation that is really going to serve them beyond that. So to talk about that as well, that this isn't just like an isolated conversation. We can continue to talk about budgeting and financing, and also see if there are people on campus, because some schools do have support for that as well.
That's great.
So yeah, finding out if there is a resource for that. And I would say the other conversation to have is that making sure that you're on the same page so that the messaging isn't muddied, because if one parent is saying one thing and another parent is saying another, that can just cause real confusion. So just making sure that everybody's on the same page can also really eliminate a lot of that sort of, well, this person said this and I thought I was supposed to do that. So yeah, getting on the same page also can be really helpful.
Especially when it comes to like scholarships and student loans, and understanding that difference between a loan and a grant. Grants don't have to be paid back. Loans do. Scholarships don't necessarily have to be paid back, but some of them do have requirements you have to fulfill in order to keep that scholarship, like a certain GPA or different things. So making sure all of those details are clear and that both parents are on the same page, especially if you're coming from like a divorce situation and you literally have two different households. I think that's even more true, that the parents need to be on the same page. And I'm sure that you find that in the work that you do as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Just being on the same page really helps a lot. And yeah, scholarships and grants and funds, that is a huge conversation that is so different than budgeting for your weekly coffee, right? Mm-hmm. So making sure that maybe you're tackling one budgeting or one money topic at a time so that you make sure that your child is really clear. Okay, we've tackled the weekly budget. Let's move on to this next thing. And it also helps them kind of organize mentally how to think about it as well.
Yeah. I wonder if any parents have taken it to this extreme. I remember some of the old like shows that were about family. And there was one episode where the parents actually took the older teenagers, I think they were like junior, seniors in high school, and made them pay rent and made them pay for the phone bill and the groceries and everything, just to give them a taste. I think it was like for a week that it lasted, just to get a taste of what it is to really provide for yourself and the responsibilities that shift as an adult. And I don't know, it'd be kind of a fun exercise to do. I don't know how much the teenager would like it, but
oh, for sure.
It would really give them an idea before going to college of all the things that are going into it. And if you're helping with one of those, how you're letting them focus on their academics so that they can get into the career or the path that they want to get into, which is also so important. Now, I'm someone who changed my major way too many times as well. And I now look back and really wish I had focused on an associate's degree or a 2-year program that would have set me up to pay for a 4-year degree or a master program. And now my kids see the wisdom in that. I just didn't know. My parents didn't go to college. I was first generation. So there were so many things I didn't know, and they couldn't have prepared me for it because nobody knew. So I think that's important too, but not to put any pressure on one career path or what you want for them or whatnot. I think that's not really serving them because they're still figuring out who they are. But yes. I do think saying, hey, get your basics out of the way, take a class in this and see if it's what you really like, or take a class in that. And one that I'm even doing now is job shadowing. You may think that this job is for you, and then you go and job shadow and find out you're not. I was considering radiology at one point because I thought it would be it's a good paying field. And then I thought maybe I could go into ultrasound or something and maybe work with mothers or something. But I went and job shadowed for radiology, and it was connected to an ER. And I didn't realize how much of it was in the dark and people in gowns, and that you did have to use needles, and I can't do needles. And so I very quickly realized, even though, yes, this is a solid career path, this is not at all for me, especially when we had someone come into the ER and I went and watched someone that was kind of having a seizure, and they had to do it was just too intense for me as a sensitive person. And I was too caring that I know I can't be, I would not do well being exposed to that on a regular basis. So it just wasn't what I thought it was at all. So I'm glad I job shadowed first. So I think that's something else that college students don't always know about. And we're leaning more towards, not entrepreneurship and owning your own business and that kind of thing. So a program that lets you explore those is probably really important because of the landscape of how things have changed that way, and marketing's more online. But apprenticeship would be huge. If you can get an apprenticeship over an internship, I think that is the way things are moving a little bit more anyway. So those are some things to consider. And housing too, I think, some colleges don't really promote you having your own room. I was a divorcee at a Christian college, my second or third year, and I just really enjoyed having my own room because I couldn't relate to my other roommates completely, and I knew I was safe in my own room. But and then I had roommates that were not good to have as roommates, who got me in trouble when they were seniors and I was a freshman, and they did things and hid stuff in our room I didn't know about. And like, so that the roommate thing, if you don't like your roommate, let them know they can fix that. They can change that. So you're not stuck with what they decided on paper would be a match. Doesn't always work. So and then
100%
else on campus, or it didn't work that semester, like give them some flexibility and figuring that part out, especially if they're like an only child, or like I was the oldest of 6, but I had 3 brothers and then 2 sisters. So I didn't really have the roommate experience. I was used to having my own room anyway. So it was a little interesting to have roommates and find out, what habits of mine drove them crazy, and who I got along with, and who we could tolerate each other for, or our energy matched or didn't, or whatnot, kind of thing. So who's a night owl, who's a morning person, or if you are those things yet, it's so important to know yourself before you go to college, and your habits and what serves you, and the time at home leading up to college is so important for them to define what that is. But if they're really busy, I don't know. I was really busy in high school. I was just really, really busy. I don't think I was aware. I was just doing school, and I was doing the activities, and I was go, go, go. And so I didn't know, am I a morning person? Am I a night person? I don't know, because it was just those last 2 years of high school are really, really busy. So that might be good to explore in the summer or leading up to it, or those are other discussions I would assume comes up that they need to have with them when they're in that first year of college.
Yeah, there's just so much going on. And one thing to remember is that the decision that you make doesn't have to be your final answer. That if you go to a certain school and it's not the right fit for you, that is not your final school. If it's not the right fit, there are things that you can do to move. It's not always easy. You have to figure out the best way or the way to do it, but it is possible. The same thing is true for your major. If it's not the right major for you, or you're double majoring and there's this pressure to keep that double major, maybe it's wiser just to drop that double major and look at the scope and sequence of the coursework that you're taking, because within that, there might be a hidden minor that you didn't even consider. And oh my gosh, I only have to take one more class and I can minor in this. Same thing with roommates. If it's not the right roommate fit, number one, remember, you do not have to be best friends with your roommate. That is like sprinkles on the sundae if that happens. But if it doesn't happen, it's just somebody that you are living with temporarily. And hopefully that situation will get resolved one way or another. And if that way is by the end of the year, we're moving out, then by the end of the year, just know that it is resolved. But nothing is set in stone, and using that agency of, okay, how can I find a way to work with this situation, and looking at it from a sort of, these are the facts, this is what's happening, and trying to keep sort of the emotions and the anger and the anxiety and the guilt that might come with it. Know that to honor those things, to not stuff them under the rug, but that is not going to serve you in order to resolve the situation. So it's really important to, think about how to deal with a certain situation. And going to college, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what it is actually really going to feel like being there day in and day out. So give yourself some time, and things may not resolve in the first week, in the first month, in the first quarter, or the first semester, or even the first year. And that's okay. Not only is it okay, it is totally normal. It is very rare to hear a student say week 1 out the gate, yes, I know what I'm going to do, and I know where I'm going to apprentice, and I'm going to live with this roommate for the rest of my life. Like, those things don't happen. So give yourself some time, give yourself some grace, and give yourself the opportunity to continue to get to know yourself when you are in school.
Yeah. I think safety is a huge thing. And I bring that up because, I'll just share on here. I was raped in college. And so I did not date very much. I was very busy. And then I was an older sister. And so I didn't have a whole lot of dating experience going into college, which was kind of a detriment. But I also had very conservative parents who decided I didn't need sexual education. And so I didn't understand enough about how that all works to know when I was being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
I also knew nothing about people slipping drugs into drinks. I knew nothing about what the intent was other than don't have sex before you're married. Like that doesn't explain everything that you need to know as a woman to prevent someone from construing it for you. And so I really feel like it's so important for a young woman to question being alone with any gentleman on campus and what their motives are, or a group of people. And if you haven't been at their parties before or different things, to just be more aware and not too trusting, because it's a time of a lot of freedom, but it's also a time of hypersexuality, which it's just the age that you get to express that. And if you are wanting to be celibate and you want to wait and you don't want to be taken advantage of, it's just so important to arm your children. We're not in an era where you can just be naive and just meet someone and get married and figure it out when you both get in the bedroom. That must have been nice in like the 1950s or something. Sex is everywhere. I mean, I'm talking to my kids at a very young age, just because of, unfortunately, the climate of hypersexuality that we live in. That's in everything and everywhere, and protecting them from a very young age to know their own anatomy and what it's called and what's appropriate and what's not. I'm shocked at what my kids are exposed to at a younger and younger age. And so thinking you can send someone to college, even a Christian school, I'm sorry, there are people that find ways to do things they shouldn't, even at a really good school. And so you can think they're safe even in that environment, but there's always a group that's going to find a way to do something off campus or in a way that they don't get caught. And so ignorance is not bliss. Like,
No.
not a wise idea not to have those conversations, even if they're uncomfortable, especially in an era where anything can be caught on a phone. The images can be caught on a phone. Your reputation can be gone. That scholarship can be gone, or your stuff can be everywhere and used against you and blackmailed against you too. Like the level of cyberbullying that we have now, like you've got to be so very, very careful. And identity theft too. Somebody trying to get I had someone who had a very similar name to me in the same town, and FAFSA got a little confused and almost gave my funding to someone else who was not me. So you got to be careful there as well. And so know what's worth keeping to yourself and what you do have to share, and question if somebody's asking for too much personal information, and watch out for anybody pretending to be a scholarship or pretending to be, because there's a lot of that out there as well.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm so sorry that happened to you in college, Tiffany. And we really have to be careful and be safe and use our intuition and our gut, because oftentimes it is not wrong. And if something does not feel right, listen to that. It is like a little tiny whisper telling you something is off, and you can take that step back and remove yourself from that situation. But yeah, college is often a time where sort of these guardrails are off, and there's parties and there's people and there's lots of feelings that might be happening.
And it can be fun. It can be fun.
And we want it to be fun.
Right.
I don't want college kids to miss out on those fun. But when it becomes dangerous and it becomes harmful to you or somebody else, the fun is over real quick. And not only that hurt that is caused can linger on and be so damaging for so much time after that. So just, being really careful. If your child doesn't want to talk to you about parties or sex or any of these topics, maybe there's a good friend that they can have a conversation with. There's another mentor in your community, another trusted adult that might be the person to talk to. But I think they are conversations to be worth having, because as uncomfortable as they may be in the moment, imagine if something were to happen and how uncomfortable that it would be then. And you just don't want to have that feeling of, oh, I wish we would have talked about it, or I wish I would have mentioned it. because it is out there. We have to be really, really careful. That is for both men and women. We just need to be really careful, use our eyes and our ears, make sure we are using that buddy system that we used when we were in elementary school.
Yeah.
Wonders in college as well. I mean, I always tell my daughter, who's a sophomore in college, don't accept a drink from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You can bring your, if it's a water bottle that has the lid that is secured, great. Otherwise, you just can't be careful enough.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just have to make sure we're safe so that we can have fun and we can have those great experiences and, live a little bit on the wild side within reason and within safety. And, make sure that we're enjoying that time without having a consequence for a poor decision that was made.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I learned to kind of be the designated driver, which was fine with me. And then they knew I wasn't drinking. They needed me not to drink because I was their designated driver. So that kind of can help in some situations. But
for sure. That was me too. I was the designated driver. Everybody knew my sweaters were always so heavy because I had everybody's keys in my pocket. Yep.
So there's ways to still be a friend and not
absolutely
have to participate. I even know there's some people who that are of my faith that go to these business meetings and everyone's drinking, and they'll purposely drink milk to make it very clear that they are not drinking. So there's no question, because no alcoholic drink is white. So I mean, there's some things there too, I suppose. But bringing your own drink with a lid, I think that's really important. And I know there's some things out there, like there's a fingernail polish that you can get. Yeah. That if you put it in the drink, it will change. Brilliant science that we have. So there's some practical things you can do to still set yourself up for success in that way. I think too, that first year of college, if you have unresolved mental health issues, it's probably going to come up your first year of college. I know that did for me as well. And I had done some work. I had done some counseling on some things, but for some reason, finally being on my own is when they really showed up, because I wasn't in the very controlled setting of my home anymore. And I didn't know how to deal with it. And there was a lot of shame and there was a lot of guilt around working with a psychologist or needing to be on medication or something being wrong with you, because unfortunately my family kind of has this mentality that they're just after you for money and they just want to get you dependent on something, and pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you're fine, and stop acting crazy. Not helpful at all. Yeah. And then it took so long to resolve those things on my own. And in some ways I'm odd in the fact that, in a good way, that I was able to overcome those things. But I almost lost my 20s to mental health struggle because of the shame and the guilt around it, and the lack of support to really figure out what was going on and develop the tools and strategies that I needed that helped me do very well today. And you wouldn't even know if I didn't share it. So,
thank you for sharing that, because I think that does help whoever is listening to empower them that you are on the other side of that. And it's a tricky time, and mental health issues might come up. Colleges and universities seem to be doing a better job of providing resources. But again, even if that resource is there, does your child know how to access it? So really taking that step to know, if this is happening, here's the number, or this is how you get in touch with them, or this is the person to contact, or let's walk to the building where the mental and health resources are so you know where it is, all of those things. And the other thing that I like to remind parents and kids about, especially around mental health, is that when we are hurting on the inside, and just because nobody can see it doesn't mean that we're not going through it and that it doesn't hurt. But if you had a broken leg, you would never walk around with a broken leg because you were ashamed to get a cast. You would go to the doctor, you would get a cast, and you would fix it. And this the same thing. It is, you need that internal casting for whatever moment. It doesn't mean you're going to have that forever. And if you do, that's okay too. But to have that moment where you can tell yourself, if this was something external, it would be fixed and I would know where to go and it would get done. And just because it is internal doesn't mean that same process couldn't be true. Go and find someone who can help you fix it. And if that person is not the right person, know that you can find somebody else who can help you fix it. So sometimes certain mental health professionals are not the hot match that we're looking for. Use your agency and find someone who is going to support you. And that goes for both kids and for parents.
And sometimes it's just a period of time they have to get through, or it's a hormone imbalance, or it's just the level of stress, or it's just learning to cope in the way that is the most productive for them. So don't think it's forever either, but just be there to support as they figure it out. And I find a lot of hope in a couple of things that I'd like to share too, is that when I was raped, someone pointed out to me, and I found this so beautiful and relieving, like that your body renews every cell in your body every 7 years. So you are literally changing and you become whole again every 7 years. So no matter what's happened to you, you can literally be whole again. It's just a matter of setting yourself up to be in the proper environments and the proper habits to get there. And the brain is the same way. You may have some wiring that is triggered to fight or flight or fawning or whatever it is, but the brain can be changed, and it's finding the right tools and strategies that will help you get there. So there's no reason for anyone not to succeed in their life, but we are not free of challenges, and we cannot let our children not experience some bad consequences for their choices, or they will never build that resilience that they need to face life wherever that hits. It may hit in the teen years. It might not. It might hit in the college years. It might not. But at some point in their life, they're going to face something that they have never dealt with before. And they're going to need to know they're human, and that it's okay, and that this is an opportunity to grow, and that there is no such thing as failure. There is only stop trying. That's the only failure that there is if you just stop. And even if you feel like stopping, even if you feel like you are suicidal, everybody goes through that at least once in their life. Now, if someone stays there and dwells on it or not, that's the differentiation. So don't find shame in that either. Get help. If you are in a dark place and you've never been there before and it's scary, don't be ashamed to share. Do not be scared to reach out and get help. No, you shouldn't be alone if you are there. Especially at college, it would be easy to isolate. It would be easy. And I think that's why it happens sometimes there. Your parents love you.
Absolutely.
There are people who love you. There are people that would miss you, and everyone matters and everyone's unique. But we all have our struggles. We're all going to fall down and need to get back up at some point. So let your children know that. I mean, it's great if you want them to be collegiate and a valedictorian and straight A student or whatnot. Yes, okay, we want to give them something to reach for. But at the same time, it's so much more important that they are whole with who they are, and that they can know when to express their needs and what they are and what they're not, what is for them and what is not for them. And college will really test that for them and help them decide.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that you are all about talking about resilience on this podcast. And I feel that true resilience isn't about bouncing back to who you were, but growing into who you're meant to be. So that constant growth is continuing to happen, and you're putting one foot in front of the other and moving forward in the process. And when you hit those bumps in the road, it's also important to know for parents that when your child hits a bump in the road, don't you want to be the person who your child goes to without judgment, without shame, to say, hey, I hit a bump in the road, and you're there for them. It doesn't mean you're going to fix the problem. It doesn't mean that they're going to be in trouble for the rest of their life, but it means that you're walking alongside them and that you're listening to them. And sometimes just being alongside them and listening to what they're going through is beyond what they need to bounce back and move forward.
Absolutely. I love your definition of that, because we're ever changing, we're ever evolving, but we're still who we are. And everybody's path is going to be uniquely different. So don't you dare compare one kid's college experience to the other either. Okay. No, I'm so glad somebody told me at one point that all of your kids are going to be different and you're doing just fine. That's just the way that it is. Because if I thought it was going to be the same every time, I would think I was doing something wrong, because they are not the same at all. And the way they approach life is different. The way they approach problems is different. So learn to celebrate that early on, and that will help them build the confidence when they go out into the world on their own. And who knows, that one that really fights you, that one you think that's not listening, might pleasantly surprise you with what they were paying attention to when it's finally on them to show up for themselves. So
our children are always listening.
yeah.
And I remember talking to my mother-in-law, and my mother-in-law telling me about the eye roll. And I said, let me reframe the eye roll for you. The eye roll means that they're listening to you because they're rolling their eyes because of something that you said that they heard. So maybe you're not going to like the eye roll, but I'll take an eye roll because then that means they heard me. And we can move on from there. They heard what I said, so we can have a conversation because I know you heard me, that you rolled those eyes. So having those little reframes, I think, is somewhat helpful. And yeah, I mean, going to college and surviving through high school with all of the noise that is in that space is a lot. So just reminding ourselves first that their college experience looks so much different than ours because it's a completely different ball game now.
Yep.
And also knowing that, yeah, it's now their turn. It is now their turn to write their script and make those decisions for themselves and find their friends and find their people and find what they're passionate about. And maybe it's not going to be the very first thing that they pick or study because those, like you said, going to shadowing in the ER was not the right fit. And maybe by having that experience took you to the next thing and kept you moving forward and kept that momentum going. So,
or even taking a year before college,
yeah,
explore those things and to figure those things out. That can be powerful too, especially with all the noise and the pressure to have a scholarship and get right to college. And I actually really wish I had taken a year to just figure it out. There was a lot of pressure in 2000 when I graduated because people thought the world was going to end. And I got thrown into college and it was like, I was told the world was going to end. It didn't end. I didn't have time to think this through. Like, it felt like I just direction. And so, so honor that too. And then of course, if you see them going down a path where they're taking too many years of exploration off, or they're changing their major too many times, it is a good idea to intervene a little bit there. Like changing your major 4 times turns into a whole lot of credits that you don't need. So,
and knowing how to ask those questions out of curiosity and concern versus out of judgment and shame can be really, really helpful. Because if your child is changing their major a ton of times and doesn't really know what they want to do, look into that. Get curious about maybe why that might be happening. And it might be happening for a reason that you didn't think of, or it might be happening for the exact same reason that you are thinking of. But I think it does such a huge disservice to our children by shaming them and telling them, oh, by now you should have this figured out. Think about it on the other end of that when someone says that to us, how that makes us feel and how much better it feels when we might have a little bit of space and grace to figure it out. That space and grace doesn't need to be a year, but asking questions out of curiosity and concern can really, really help your child not only know that you trust them in their process, but that they also trust you, and therefore they might come to you and talk about it.
Yeah, because they know that you have the best intentions for them. And they can feel your love behind what you're saying. And I guess we do have a little bit of an advantage too with the opportunity to learn so many things online. So there's an opportunity there to explore things. Maybe the first year of college didn't work or the major is unclear. Well, maybe take some classes online and see how that goes and see if that's what lights you up. Or maybe you're someone who doesn't want to be behind a desk. Maybe you need to move. Maybe you need a job where you're more textile and you need your hands. I mean, you know your child the best. And then they kind of get to decide what their gift is that they can make money doing. And if it gets to be something they love, that's great. But even if it's something they're good at, and then that lets them do what they love as their hobby, like there's a lot of ways now to kind of balance that all out and to explore that. I love that we're moving more towards wholesome lifestyles with our work and with our family versus the working long hours and the burnout and finding that our health has suffered, our relationships have suffered by the end of some career that we've picked. And so I'm optimistic for our next generation. They're facing an amazing period of time where there's a lot of shifts and a lot of changes, but there's also a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of room to get curious and figure out how you're going to contribute in this chapter in the world. I have to believe that we're here for a reason, and for this time that we're in, that you were called for this time. And if we can really build their confidence in that, that'll also serve them very well.
Absolutely. And the path isn't always linear, and maybe that solution to where we are and why we're meant to be here in the world may not come out of what you majored in. It might come out of a conversation that you had with someone on the way to your class, or a professor in a different class that's outside of your major. So just being open and having open mind and open heart to whatever those opportunities might be that enter your life because of some of the decisions that you've made, knowing that they're not always linear, is okay too. And some of those conversations can be so special and so meaningful, and can actually have the biggest impact in your trajectory in your life, and also the influence that you have on your time here.
Exactly. There's only one you in the universe.
Only one you.
You have something of value to give, and you matter. And there's just somebody waiting for you to show up. And yes, we want that for our kids. We want that success. We want to see them reach their full potential, because of our love for them, for what we see in them, and we hope for them, because we want them to live a better life than us. I think the parents that truly love their kids really want them to be more successful and fulfill their dreams faster, and just live vibrantly in the world today, and be that light that we need. So
yeah. And making sure that they're happy. Are you happy? Did you have a good day today? Was there something that lit you up today, versus how was that math exam? We can be so focused on the academics and the measurable transactional things, but what about, again, going back to the stuff on the inside? What's something that made you happy today? What's something that made you laugh today? Have that conversation with your child and connect in that way, and see how that goes.
I love that. Absolutely. 100%. I love your language that you share. I think not all of us think about approaching it that way if we didn't have that growing up in our household. And I like the way that you phrased it, and leave it kind of open, but with that loving intent behind anything that you're approaching. And I think sometimes we have to remember that we're in charge of the energy we bring into conversations, and we're in charge of our triggers or whatnot. So we need to make sure we're ready to have those conversations. And if we're not, to express that we're not. And when we mess up, to just apologize right away and let them know we're learning too.
Yes.
We've never had you in college before. We've never had a kid in college before. We've not, you didn't come with a manual. So
that's right. And be honest with your kids. This is new for me too. And today I'm having a hard day. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't go to school. It doesn't mean that you are putting the onus on them to fix it. You're just being open and honest. And when they see you working through that, that's a way of modeling for them that hey, mom or dad or my caregiver is going through something, but I go through stuff too. They go through stuff too. And then here I am on the other side of that. So that can be just such an invaluable lesson, especially during those huge transitional times in the college years.
Well, I absolutely loved our conversation, and we're kind of beyond the usual time, but that's totally fine, because we get on a subject that I enjoy, and we just let it see where it goes. And I love what we discussed. I love all of the ideas of how to prepare a child for college, the practical things, the skills that they need to have internally and externally, and the things to think about, safety that we discussed, the language that we use, and just overall continuing to be that good parent that you want to be to your child as they transition into adulthood, and maintaining that relationship as they find their place in the world. So
yes, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Tiffany. I loved having this conversation, and I appreciate you having this platform so that we can have these conversations and support all of the parents and teens out there.
Oh, absolutely. If people want to work with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, the best place to find me is on my website at dianadavidsoncoaching.com. I'm also on Instagram, same name, Diana Davidson Coaching. So those would be the best places to find me.
Perfect. Well, now you know where to go, over here.
Yes.
The expert. So And a real mom too. So I think that
yes.
says something. She can validate you. It's not just
I'm walking right alongside you.
so, yeah. We're walking hand in hand here. Moms,
That's
let's
right.
go. So thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for listening today. Please let us know what you liked in the comments. Please share this episode with somebody who might need it or even a snippet of it. And feel free to sign up for our weekly newsletter that we have to get more insights and tips and know what we're up to and where we're going with the podcast. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.